Jenny and I first met in the spring of my senior year of high school. Chris Meyer and I were trying to find a couple of young ladies to hang out with us. And so we decided to start texting Jenny and her friend at the time, Mackenzie Wagner.
This was right at the beginning of everyone texting each other on Facebook. And Mackenzie was like, do you know whose number this is? So I looked it up and called it, and right away someone answered. But it wasn't Meyer, it was my Chris.
And it was essentially a week long of texting, which I'm sure JT Galloway will take credit for because he sent about half of them.
Yeah, they pretty much owe everything to me. We literally sat there on his front porch for 3 days texting Jenny back and forth, or him texting me when I was at home saying, what should I say back to her right now?
I asked Christopher out on our first date. We went to Cozy Classic.
She was like so cool about it. She wasn't acting nervous. She was like, yeah, he's picking me up. Like, yeah, we're going to Cozy. Like, yeah, he's a senior.
The first time I actually met her after a week of texting was at her front door.
He had a scruff, not a full beard, but a lot of scruff, and he looked like a 40-year-old man.
He was very hairy, very hairy. He was very hairy, and he was huge. I actually thought he was a lacrosse coach.
It was funny, me showing up at her house for our first date, and then her getting in my car. I mean, right off the bat, she had an attitude about her that was pretty commendable. I mean, she right off the bat wanted to have a conversation, go after different topics and ideas, and I kind of knew from the start that she was a pretty special person.
She's always been in charge of her life. From when she was very little, she was the boss, and she knew it and we knew it.
I think that Christopher has always wanted to do things differently. He didn't want to be told that he had to do it one way. He would challenge the why that way.
But we did go to their house when they had their first date.
So we're not the kind of parents that step back, right? So when she had this new boyfriend a couple of years older,
yeah, but he looked like he was
barged,
25
right?
years old.
So Beth was like, we're going over there. I don't remember everybody that was in the house.
There were a lot of
Tommy Cross
kids.
was in the house.
Me, Tommy, and Wiggy were on the kitchen table. I think my sister was there as well. And Christopher came down to the kitchen and goes, oh shit, you guys are here.
And we kind of, we kind of just knocked on the door and said, hey, we're Jenny's parents. We want to see what's going on. And we met the Webbs for the first time on that porch.
How did that conversation go? Little like, what is your man-child doing with my 13-year-old daughter?
Jenny was mortified, in the background. But, we immediately liked Dick and Lee, and we could see that they were kind of regular people.
I was a senior, I was graduating high school, I was about to go off to college. She had just gone out of a relationship, and it is funny. I think it's one of those things where, the first date maybe felt a lot easier for both of us just because we were expecting so little, and it's just funny the way everything kind of turned out.
I heard about Chris the summer after they started seeing each other. Jenny was like beaming, so excited about this older boy that she met, Chris, and he was possibly, in Jenny's mind, if perhaps maybe all of Simsbury High, we don't know, the coolest guy that ever walked the earth. And he was so cool because he had a show called Chris and Chris in the Morning. I don't even remember how many hours we were in the Giuliano basement, sort of sizing him up via this morning show DVD, and I'll never forget it.
Back then, I wasn't sure if I didn't think I was gonna marry him right when I met him. I thought he was awesome. Honestly, I really didn't think past prom at that point. I thought it'd be cool to go to senior prom. So not right away, but I definitely knew I wanted to date him, and I definitely wished he wasn't going to college the next year.
I think they've been dating for like 7 or 8 years, but they were long distance for like 4 or 5 of those, maybe, or 4. While she was in high school and while he was in college, and that's a challenging time for both people.
So from being long distance, honestly, I got to learn a lot about him because we talked on the phone all the time, like what was important to him and to me, and we'd share stories.
Just the fact that like both of them put in the time, the effort to keep dating is very inspiring. How Jenny would go down to college, how Webb would come back for proms and take pictures in my backyard while all of us were drinking beers and laughing at him.
And we each had our calendars where we X off the days to like see each other in 40 days or 50 days or whatever it was. But we made it through, obviously.
I am going to talk about the summertime effects when he actually spent the summer sleeping in the basement on a futon.
We had a big family debate about whether Chris stays at our house. Like, we had a real debate whether we're having Chris stay in the basement. And needless to say, for the summer.
Live with us, under our roof.
I think we have all agreed that that was the best summer, and no other summer leading up has ever like matched it. We started lobster diving, we went fishing every day, and basically Chris just like transformed into like the family and became another brother.
When we got to watch them together, then it went from, you know, we like this kid to we love this kid.
So I knew I was going to marry Christopher a few months after moving into the North End together. I had my first bad day at work. I messed something up in someone else's presentation. It was just, it wasn't a huge deal, but to me it was like the biggest deal ever, and I was so upset. And I came home and Christopher had bought me 2 cannolis from Modern Pastry and wrote me a card and was just telling me everything's gonna be okay. And it was just, it made me realize, like, even on my worst days, like, it's just little stuff, and he's always gonna be there and ready to like lift me back up, and hopefully with a cannoli.
I've told Jenny this before, but I know the moment I knew I was gonna propose to Jenny was, I believe it was my freshman year of college. Jenny had come up to the lake over winter break. We had just had a huge ice storm. 3 huge trees had fallen on the lake. And so my dad was out there with a chainsaw, you know, cutting each tree up into logs so that we could carry up to the wood pile. Most of the time you think, you know, you have your girlfriend visiting or your friends visiting, you know, you don't want to make them do yard work. But, you know, right away she was like, oh, she threw her coat on, she threw her hat on, she threw her gloves on. And it was just, we were just, you know, lugging logs from one side of the lake to the beach, and then from the beach up to the wood pile. She had these cute little pigtails in, and a winter hat on, and her North Face coat. And I don't know, I just remember stopping, and I was carrying a log, and I remember just literally stopping my tracks, looking at her, and I knew from that moment, I was like, you know, this is a girl that I could totally marry, and you know, would be the best person for me. And I had that image in my mind for years and years, carried it with me all the way down to the day that I actually did propose to her.
Through the last year or so, it was very apparent that they were very serious. I had a little more detailed discussion with them and just said, well, not sure what your plans are and what you're thinking of, but you know, listen to your old man for once, and please make sure you do the right thing and talk to Jim before you propose to Jenny, if that's your intent. And he said, Dad, already in the works.
Chris, you know, asked, you know, to go golfing, which he has never done, which is, you know, was a bit of a tip-off in and of itself. On the 18th tee, and you know that tee, it goes across like a valley up the top. So he asked me, and then I'm all flustered, and I shank my shot way right. And I'm kind of like, hey, couldn't you have asked me after the 18th hole? And those scenarios in a dad's mind where I kind of put him through the ringer, I did not do. I couldn't. And it was just very instantaneous, you know, that I welcomed him into the family.
With us, it's all about family, that's all. Not material things, just family. That's the essence. And that's what we tried to do. Try to set traditions. And when we met Chris, I said, he's the one. He's the one. So
I'm really excited just to share everything with Christopher and have a family and try to give them all the same life both of our parents gave us. We were both so lucky, and we were given and experienced so much growing up, and we had such good values instilled in us, and I'm just really excited to keep growing on that and do the same together, and then for our family someday.
I think what Jenny and I are most looking forward to is what, you know, most people look forward to, and that's just to be able to have, you know, our tight-knit family, you know, in a cozy home, you know, right here, near friends, near family. Everybody around, you know, just being able to, you know, have, you know, love everywhere you are. We both come from very tight-knit families, and I think we both want to be able to give those same experiences and those same values back onto our kids. And I can't wait to be able to, you know, start that next chapter of our lives together, and being able to have our best friends and our obviously our loving families right with us the entire way would make it all the better.